Hello, everybody. Good morning and welcome to our webinar today. Whether you're watching this live with us today or whether you're watching a recording of this later on, I'd like to offer you a very warm welcome into this free holding space webinar today. This is our 33rd in the series, and today we've got the wonderful presenter, Gabrielle Collerson, who's going to be talking with us and sharing her knowledge and expertise about Reiki as a treatment for self-care. So I'm really hoping that you can learn something practical from here, and you're also going to be able to have the opportunity, if you're here live, to win a session as well, which is really wonderful. So Gabby's going to be talking about that a little bit later. My name is Jacki Short. I'm the Director of Sydney Centre for Creative Change, and we offer online training for mental health professionals and others in creative and expressive therapy. So it's great to have you here. I can see some familiar faces. Welcome one and all. Lovely to see your faces if you've got your camera on. Really great to be able to see you, and I know Gabby appreciates that too. Before we get started, I'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands that I come to you from today, the Eora people of the Gadigal Nation, and pay our collective respects to elders past, present and emerging, and an acknowledgement of whatever lands that you're on today from around this great wide country. So welcome one and all. I'm going to start with some slides to give you an orientation of what we're doing today, and these will be on the website for you to look at later should you want to also. Today we're looking at how to give yourself a boost in both body, mind and spirit by learning about Reiki. The presenter today, Gabrielle Collerson, is an empath by nature and known as a seeker of new horizons from a young age. Gabby has embraced careers in nursing, teaching, counselling and Reiki. She's a registered nurse and midwife with a Masters of Counselling degree, enthusiastically accepting opportunities to live and work in 8 different countries. After working 20 plus years within the international sector as a counsellor, she had another serendipitous detour into Reiki. Gabby holds advanced Reiki qualifications and is a practitioner. She considers Reiki treatment as a conduit to soaking up optimal well-being in body, mind and spirit. We're very excited, I'm very excited, and I'm sure you are too, to hear more about this from Gabby today. So I'd like to, without further ado, welcome you, Gabby.
Wow, thank you, Jacki. That's really some intro. I also am very excited to be here today to share my experience and a bit of my knowledge with Reiki to you. So a very warm welcome. I've been looking forward to today for weeks. So yeah, I'm really happy, and I see so many of you. It's really fantastic. So today I thought that placing myself in your shoes, what would you like to know about? And so first of all, I'd like to ask if anybody has heard of Reiki before. Just give me a, oh, okay. Oh, that's great. Fantastic. Lovely. Has anybody experienced Reiki before? Just give me a hands up. Oh, wow. Okay. Great. Oh, fabulous. Well, it would be wonderful. And in a few slides, I want you to share your experience if you would like to. So, fantastic. Now, I'm going to run through these areas, which I said before, I thought might be the most useful for you. First of all, apologies to those of you who've already heard of Reiki and experienced it. I know there are a few of you have not. So for those of you who've heard and experienced it, we'll go through that briefly. What is Reiki? Then I'm going to touch briefly on where did it come from, and then go further into how does it work, and then can benefit. So possibly with my personal story, I first did Reiki beginners course in 1989, and after that, it was a 2-day course. I was very skeptical because I'm quite a practical person, as well as being an empath. I have a very practical side. It must be the nurse in me, I think. And I just thought, I don't have any proof that this thing works. I think it's all some sort of claptrap quack stuff. So I left it for a number of years, and then in the college where I was working, I started in 2016 organising a wellbeing day for the staff, and I got in all kinds of people from the community as guest speakers to give people a sample of things like kinesiology, Tai Chi, massage, etc. And one of the guests was a Reiki practitioner. And so we got talking, and I said, oh yes, I know what Reiki is, you know, of a half-closed mind. And she said, oh, you haven't practiced it. You really need to think about maybe going back to it. It's such a shame you've done it, and you've done a course and blah, blah, blah. So over the years, in the interim, I've run across Reiki myself by accident, definitely not looking for it. And a few experiences I had, one of which was about 3 years ago. I was completely burnt out. I was so depleted, I'd even used up my reserve tank. And I was in quite a bad way. And I came across a Reiki practitioner, the same one who spoke to our colleagues in the college at the Wellbeing Day. And I said, oh, I'm burnt out and I'm this and I'm that. So she offered to give me some treatment. I thought, well, I'm so low, I'm going to try anything. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, well, nothing lost. So I went along and I had a treatment, and I had this beautiful calm that came over me. And it was more than a calm, it was like a really strong centeredness within me after it. It felt like a really calm courageousness that I could go on with the rest of the semester. And it lasted for days. And my partner said to me, what happened to you in that session? You look like, and you've been acting like you were sedated. And that's probably how it was to someone outside of me. So time went on, and I decided to do an advanced course in 2020 when the lockdown came. I wanted to keep myself active, and so I thought, well, I'm going to investigate and see if there's more to this Reiki thing. And so I completed an advanced Reiki course, and after that I felt energized. I felt my mind was clear. I hadn't felt like that in years. So I continued on, and then last year I did an 8-month Reiki practitioner certificate with the network that I had done the other courses with. The network is the Usui Reiki network. So I went away just recently for a weekend with practitioners. We have once or twice a year, we have a weekend where we all get together and practice Reiki on each other. And I've got to tell you, I came back from that weekend floating. Again, my partner said to me, "You've been acting all week like you're sedated. You're so calm. When's the next Reiki weekend?" So that's my story in a nutshell. I've got a friend also, and I'll tell you about her during the next slide. So we'll start exploring, if that's okay with everybody, what is Reiki? So we know that we have something within us that is alive and keeps us breathing and keeps our heart beating. Reiki itself was rediscovered 100 years ago, this year, in fact, and it's pronounced Reiki from two Japanese words. So Rei meaning spiritual or life force, and Ki meaning energy. And it's based on the idea that all beings have energy fields or a life force or universal energy, or it's got lots of names. The Hindus call it prana, the Buddhists call it chi, and probably many more names that I'm not aware of. So this life force is transmitted via the practitioner's hands to the client. According to Reiki practice, it's a very holistic outlook. We believe that the physical, cognitive, and emotional issues can occur if energy is low or it becomes blocked. Now, some key points about Reiki. As I just said, it addresses the whole person. Physical, emotional, mental or cognitive, and spiritual levels. And quite possibly some levels we've yet to identify. It's suitable for people of all faiths or of none. I have a couple of atheists who are regular clients. It's a very gentle, hands-on method of treatment, and it aims to increase energy levels and enhances a person's well-being as it deeply relaxes. It can also clear energy blockages, allowing the free flow of life energy and restoring balance within us and vitality. It also works very harmoniously with all other medical and therapeutic techniques. And when people come for a Reiki session with the particular network that I've been trained by, clients remain fully clothed. And I usually like to put a sheet on someone in the summertime, a sheet over that person, and in winter time to have a blanket or a lovely soft fluffy towel. I'm very particular as well about infection control, so everything gets laundered after each client. Okay, so I'll tell you a little bit about my friend who's been very skeptical. I've offered her a Reiki treatment a few times and she said, "Oh, I don't believe in that stuff." Well, she was here visiting me a month ago, and in that time, she was telling me she'd fallen over and she'd jarred her arm really badly. And she thought that she'd either cracked a bone or broken a bone, and she'd had to make an appointment to see her GP and get an X-ray. But she was waiting. She had to wait about 5 days. So while she was here, I said, Yvonne, would you like me to give you some Reiki treatment? And she said, oh, look, I'll try anything. I can't get to sleep at night with it. I have to take painkillers, and every morning I wake up and I'm in pain. So I said, okay, let's see. So it was the whole arm and the shoulder. So I did that, gave her some Reiki for about 20 minutes, and we had a cup of tea and off she went. I got a text the next morning. I didn't need to take painkillers last night because my arm was fine. And when I woke up this morning, it was the first morning since I had this accident that I haven't woken up in pain. I'd like to come for a full Reiki treatment. So that's another little story. I've got a few stories like that. Okay, so where did Reiki come from? I'll give you just a brief history. As I said earlier, it was rediscovered by a scholar, an academic in Japan 100 years ago. The doctor is not a medical doctor, it's an academic doctor, but he rediscovered Reiki. Then he started having a clinic and students. And one of his students who he had an apprenticeship with was a Navy doctor. He was in the Japanese Navy and he was a medical doctor. And so Mikao Usui made him a Reiki master after several years of study. Dr. Hayashi had a patient who had come to him from Hawaii, Mrs. Takata, and she was so impressed. She had a number of medical problems. She was so impressed that she stayed on in Japan for the next 5 years, and Dr. Hayashi made her a Reiki master after that time. Takata took that back to Hawaii and then eventually to the US mainland. And one of her students, who also did a 5-year apprenticeship with Takata, became a master, and Beth Gray brought that to Australia in 1989 or 88. I did my first Reiki course, the beginner's course, with Beth Gray. So that's a brief history in a nutshell. Just going back to Mikao Usui, he also encouraged all his students and patients to practice what he termed the 5 Reiki principles each day to enhance that feeling of well-being that people get from a treatment. So what are the 5 Reiki principles? Well, let's have a look here. It's a day-by-day thing, so we only have to focus on today. So just for today, I will let go of worry. Just for today, I will let go of anger. That's not about suppressing anger. It's about exploring our anger and finding the root cause and addressing that. Just for today, I will do my work honestly. Just for today, I will give thanks for my many blessings. And the fifth one, just for today, I will be kind to every living thing. Okay, now I would like to propose that we do a very short mindfulness exercise here, focusing on these 5 principles. The mindfulness is possibly something a little bit like the feeling that people get after a Reiki treatment. So that's why I'm introducing this mindfulness exercise. And I'm just going to grab something here. So shall we proceed and do this as an experiment and just see how you're feeling afterwards? Is it safe for me to assume that everybody knows what mindfulness is? Yeah? Okay. All right. Now, I'd like to suggest that we all make ourselves very comfortable. So that may mean if you've got back problems, it may mean you're lying on the floor or sitting straight in your chair. It may mean that you take your specs off if that makes you more comfortable, whatever makes you more comfortable. And I'm going to leave a slide up with the 5 principles while we do this. Okay, so let's get comfortable. Gently feather our nest. Together with me, take a long, slow, deep breath in. Hold it for about 3 seconds and then ever so gently let it go. Allow your eyelids to float closed or take your gaze softly to a place of your choice. Then together again, take a long, slow, deep breath in, slow and full, holding it for 3 or more seconds, and then so gently let that breath go and allow your whole body to become as soft and as light as silk. Continue taking deep breaths in and notice how the swirl outside of you and inside is slowing down just a bit. There's nowhere else to be. There's nothing else to do except to be right here, right now, in this moment. Become aware of an object far, far away that we can send any issues niggling us to that far away place. Now let's focus on that concept of being right here in the now, just in the day, and focus on the 5 principles of Reiki. Let's try and contemplate these principles in our minds and hearts. Just for today, I allow myself to let go of worry. Just for today, I give myself permission to let go of anger. Just for today, I will do my work honestly. Just for today, I will be grateful for my many blessings. Just for today, I will be kind to every living thing. These principles are a philosophical guide to live one day at a time. Like affirmations or intentions, they can bring balance and peace to our lives. You might choose one of these principles or all of these as you focus throughout the day. Now, gently bring yourself back to your awareness of breathing. In and out. Ever so gently. Become aware of the soles of your feet in contact with the floor, and also other parts of your body in contact with your chair or the floor. And when you are ready, slowly float your eyes open. Okay. Would anybody, any brave soul, like to share anything that came up for you in that mindfulness practice? You would need to take yourself off mute.
I felt really heavy, like I could feel my body like pressing into the chair more as I was breathing out.
And how did that feel? How was that for you?
Nice, I felt the tension in my neck disappear.
Great. Thank you, Nikki. Anyone
Hi,
else?
Gabby. Can you hear me? This is Pam.
Yes, yes, Pam.
Sorry, my photo wouldn't go up. It's probably a blessing for everybody. You don't have to look at my face. But let me just say, I really enjoyed that mindfulness exercise because I just felt tense before I started. And I was then very aware of how the muscles were just simply relaxing and letting go. It was almost like a drifting sensation for me. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for the experience.
Oh, you're most welcome, Pam.
Thank you.
And I'm sure that you have a lovely face.
Okay, I'll leave you with that thought.
I think that some of us, I'm not sure about you, but me definitely, I have lots of lines and marks on my face. And I say to people, yes, each one of them tells a story. I have earned every single one of those.
Could I use that in the future? I think that's wonderful.
I would like to emphasize that mindfulness is a very different thing to Reiki. I tend not to practice mindfulness in a Reiki treatment session, but if somebody would ask for it, I would be more than happy to do that as an added thing. But the reason I gave you this practice today is, as I said earlier, it's very similar feeling to a Reiki treatment. You have this kind of letting go of tension, but at the same time boosting, getting a boost of clarity, mental clarity and peace of mind and peace of heart. I'm doing this, putting this presentation together, I tried to put into words my experience of Reiki. And the only way that I couldn't describe it is it's a feeling of like sublime grace. Now, I use the word grace not in any religious term at all, but you know, we talk about people having poise and grace. So it's more from that kind of meaning. You probably would find 10 people who've had a Reiki treatment and you would get 10 completely different answers. But that's mine. Okay, so getting on now to the practical stuff. How does Reiki work? Well, in the network that I'm with and the way that we practice, an initial Reiki session is usually somewhere between 90 and 120 minutes. And there's a reason for that, because we like to get an outline of a person's health history and what has brought them to Reiki. Very similar to counsellors, whatever clients tell us, there is no judgment and there is unconditional positive regard. So it doesn't matter what has brought someone to Reiki, everybody is treated with unconditional positive regard. Then after that 30-minute health history, we start a 60-minute treatment. Now, the reason for that is that sometimes, and as I said to my friend with the arm problem after she had a fall, sometimes an issue can be coming from somewhere else. And as Reiki looks at people in a holistic way, we prefer to do a whole body treatment in case an issue is linked to maybe one or more areas that have blocked energy or are low on energy. So the outline of health and my records are stored in a very secure place. They are compliant with Australian health privacy laws, etc., etc. You'll be asked to lie on a Reiki table, which is very similar to a massage table. Or if some people have mobility issues, you sit in a chair if that's more comfortable for the client. Then the practitioner's hands are placed on or just above your body in set sequences of positions. I have a cousin who does not like to be touched, so I'm very careful before I start a treatment to ask people, is there anywhere on your body you don't like to be touched or you prefer not to be touched? We discussed that also in that 30-minute chat before the session. Unlike massage, a Reiki session does not involve any form of physical manipulation or rubbing or stroking or anything like that. And I'll show you shortly the positions of the hands. Sometimes during a session, people feel a lot of warmth. Occasionally, they may feel cool or coldness, or a tingling sensation, or a slight twitching, or nothing at all. And very often, people go to sleep. I have a number of people who are off to sleep after about the second hand change. As I said before, people remain fully clothed throughout the treatment, and there are never any private parts of the body touched. So breasts and genital areas are never touched. People may like to take their shoes off, or if they wear glasses or hearing aids, or if they have lots of jewellery on, they may prefer to take that off for comfort. So the hand positions, we looked at 3 different sections of the body, and this is a view of someone lying on their back. So the first 2 hand positions are just under the breast, and that treats certain organs in the body, for example, the liver, the spleen, the pancreas, things like that, the stomach. Then we lift our hands and replace along the body. As I said in a previous slide, we don't ever slide or drag or anything like that. Hands are lifted and replaced to the next position. Our particular network doesn't suggest that each position is timed, because everybody has unique needs. There may be some part of the body that I feel is drawing more energy from my hands than other parts. So, for example, if somebody has stomach issues and I put my hand there and I feel a Reiki practitioner can feel a strong pull of energy there, I would keep my hands there for as long as that pull of energy needs to be there. So if after 3 minutes or 5 minutes there is energy still needed, I keep my hands there. Okay, so you can see by those blue oval shapes where the hands are placed on the body. Small intestine, large intestine. The groin area, as you can see, that is used for treating any issues with legs or knees or feet. So that's done there. If someone has a sports injury or arthritis or something like that in a knee or an ankle, I would do the knee or the ankle or the foot or the hip as a separate extra thing. And that's why it's really important to have that chat, take the history of issues before we start treatment. The next part of the body we go to is the head. And with somebody lying on their back, we go to the front of the head first. Something I forgot to admit here, I omitted something. We put a soft, clean cloth over the eyes. There are several reasons for that, but the main two are to keep out light so that the person has a better chance of relaxing. And also, from time to time in Reiki treatment, tears come out. People express grief or other feelings, anger, and people cry. So to have that soft cloth over the eyes, it just helps soak up tears and acts as a non-distracting thing. They don't have to fish around and get a tissue and that kind of thing. Then we go over the ears. So in the front of the face, that position is not only for the eyes, but also for parts of the brain inside. So if people are burnt out, or I have a client who has PTSD, and so it would work on her amygdala and other parts of the brain that are trauma affected. Over the ears, obviously for any ear problems. And then we gently roll the head to one side and place a hand behind the head and roll the head to the other side and place that hand behind the head and then roll the head ever so gently back to center. Now we ask the person if they would like to turn over onto their tummy on the table, and we do the back. So very similar to the front. We start off just at the shoulder blade at the very top, and those first two positions are treatment for lung conditions, spine conditions, arthritis, sports injuries. The third position down is treating the kidneys and the adrenal glands. And the adrenal glands are what often is incredibly depleted if someone's burnt out. In alternative medicine, we know that the adrenal glands need a lot of replenishment if someone's burnt out or going through a really stressful time, or before or after surgery, for example. Then the last position is what we call the T position, and that treats all the reproductive organs, the base of the spine, and the hips. If people have sciatica or hip problems or other issues, again, I would do extra positions here depending on what the need is. Okay, so let's look at the benefits. And please feel warmly welcome to ask questions. Maybe write down questions you might have as I go through this. I'd love to get some questions. Okay, so very often someone can have a Reiki treatment and say they didn't feel anything at all. And that can mean that Reiki actually resonates as throwing a pebble in a pond and all the spools come out. Reiki is similar to that. It resonates for a day or 2 days or even 3 days after a treatment. So people may not feel anything at first, like my friend with the arm issue. She didn't feel anything after I'd given her Reiki, but obviously that night and the next morning there was something had happened. Okay, so it's suitable for all body types and ages, even babies. It boosts energy levels and feelings of well-being. It relaxes deeply. It diminishes insomnia. I find this with a lot of my clients, one of whom said to me the next day, she contacted me and she said, I had the best sleep last night that I've had in months. And I'm not sure why it works, but I do find a lot of clients, their insomnia improves. It recharges the physical and cognitive energies. It intensifies emotional clarity and mental clarity. I have another client who is a university lecturer, and she came to me one day for a treatment and she said, oh, I'm so fuzzy. I'm supposed to be writing a paper. I've got a deadline by tomorrow and I haven't been able to finish it. She had a Reiki treatment. She sent me a text the next day and said, you wouldn't believe this. After I went home, I just sat down. I did 5 hours. I had such clear thoughts and I was able to finish writing my paper. So these things make a difference. It also stimulates the immune system, and for pregnant women, it promotes pregnancy well-being. Okay, so who can benefit? I've mentioned, hinted at that previously. So it relieves sports and other injuries. I get a lot of clients, well, I've had a lot of clients with arthritis. And as I said, it promotes well-being in babies and children. This dear little thing, dear little baby. And also animals. I had an elderly cat, and I used to give her Reiki when she was agitated. And it was amazing, within about 5 minutes, that's usually all she let me give her, she'd be able to go away, and she always looked much calmer. She'd settle in her little bed after that and go to sleep. So I know that other people have given their animals Reiki too. Some of my network have talked about that. Okay, now just to finish off, I'd like to play you this YouTube video, not the whole video, about 3 or 4 minutes of it. And it's a little different from the network that I work with. I don't work with bowls or crystals or chakras or anything like that. I'm in a network that's very traditional, but I felt that this YouTube video gave a really good kind of overview concerning a few people. So take what you like and leave the rest.
As I began this journey with Reiki, I was amazed at how people wanted a place to go. Reiki is creating an environment of comfort and support where people know they can be able to release their worries, their fears, their pain.
Having had massages before, I'm used to somebody touching me, but the healing doesn't come from the manner of the touch, like a massage. The healing comes because there's like this energy, heat that's coming from Lisa.
I definitely feel a response to the practitioner's hands. It's a warm sensation, it's a tingling sensation, it's very comfortable, it feels very safe.
When I think about Reiki, it's really human contact, that reflection of affection. Like, I was hurt so much that I need that balance of love to be brought back to me.
I was so ready for it, and I couldn't believe I had waited so long in my life to be able to experience that moment of what it is to have energy healing.
For me, I get these rushes of energy.
I practically melted into the table with wonderful relaxation.
Maybe I'm crazy, but I feel like it's warm and like someone is hugging me.
The weight of the world that you carry on your shoulders is now lying in somebody else's hands.
I've never been a follower of mind and body and health, but I don't think you need to be in order to gain benefit. I know for me, I truly believe it's helped me.
When I first learned Reiki, I was so skeptical. In this day of modern medicine, why wouldn't you just take a pill? Why wouldn't you just go see your therapist? But something happens during these Reiki sessions, and I thought, I have to share this. My friends need this. My family needs this. Everybody needs this. As the practitioner, I'm honoring your space with your need for healing. And so right now it is working on your heart center. And
it's the place that I have my most sadness.
Right, right.
My wife passed away 2 years ago, so I've been going through some tough times. There's been weeks where I don't know what I would have done without having some Reiki. And it's
Okay, we might leave it there.
probably the most significant.
So, interesting to look at that, but I'm mindful of the time and your time. So, any questions?
It's Pam again, Gabby.
Hi, Pam.
How does Reiki affect the practitioner?
I'm glad you asked that question. Quite differently to counselling, we also get replenished while we are treating people. So often when I'm been counselling people, or particularly after a critical incident where there's been a lot of trauma, and I've had to debrief people and heard the trauma in detail over and over and over, that can be extremely distressing for counsellors, as we probably, I'm sure you all have had an experience along those lines. Reiki is very different. You don't get depleted. You actually have, you get topped up also.
Oh, really? Well, that's good to hear. Thank you.
Welcome. Anything else? Any other person feeling brave?
Yes, hello, it's Beatrice. Thank you for presenting today. It's really interesting, great overview. I was wondering the whole time if there's like a bit of a mini, you know, what could I do on a mini level at home to connect in that way, let's say, with the partner or your child or, you know, the family. So just to enhance interaction, you know, like what could you do to step in this direction as towards Reiki without being a practitioner? You know, like breathing through your hands and putting it in the positions or something like that.
Yes, look, Beatrice, thank you for that. If we put our hands together, and you might like to try this, every single person has energy that comes through our hands, and you might even feel, if you separate your hands, you might feel something there, kind of like a warmth or something pulling or a tingling. You can do, look, I think just to put your hands on somebody is very healing if that person is open to it. There are courses you can do. As I said earlier, I did a beginner's course, and it's a 2-day course, usually held on a weekend, face-to-face, because the network I'm with, we think that learning the practical side of things is as important as the theory side of it. And so knowing where to place your hands and why you place them in certain areas and what the benefits are from putting your hands in those certain areas is really useful. And so that's what I got when I did the beginner's course. And the Reiki master, Beth Gray, who did my first Reiki course, she attuned me, what you call attuning, passing on the energy. And it's kind of like a spiritual experience, actually, going through an attunement. So, but right today, you know, if you have a child or your partner is feeling sore somewhere, just to put your hands on there would be something that will come through your hands. But doing a course and being attuned, the energy is stronger, comes through the hands more strongly.
Thank you, Gabby, for such an inspiring presentation and a reflection on your own experiences with this. And the questions we've had so far are lovely. I suspect there might be even a few more that people might want to ask. I can see on your slide there is some contact details. Should people want to reach out to you and find out more of all the things that you've got there, including possibly making a session time with you. And I know you work virtually as well as in person, so you don't even need to be in Sydney. But one lucky person in about 10 minutes or so is going to win a treatment with you, which I know someone will be very excited about in order to get from you. I'm also going to give away a free a $50 webinar to someone shortly also. But before we do that, and before we have any other questions, I wanted to give you a couple of minutes, just 5 minutes in a small breakout room with 2 or 3 others. So you can discuss this in a smaller group. Any reflections that you have about this, any questions that you might have, any implications for your own well-being that you'd like to discuss in a small group before we come back together. And Gabby's going to be in one of those small groups too. Nice to see Helen, Suzanne, Vicky, Marielle. The others are joining us now too. Anything that you discussed in your breakout room just now that you'd like to share with others?
Yeah, I was really encouraged by this session just because I'm kind of starting out. So I'm fresh out of uni. I just started school counselling this year, and I chose to do this session just for a form of self-care and more out of curiosity. As someone that is, I believe I'm a skeptic. I was just wanting to learn more. And Gabby, you were very informative in explaining what Reiki is and how and what it does to your body. So I'm just now wanting to give it a go just to prevent from like burnout, because in the field that I work in, like it's very much possible, but now it's just fresh and I'm just starting. I thought this was a good session to kind of like start the year for me. This is my first session, so it was really great. Thanks, Gabby.
Oh, that's my enormous pleasure to everybody.
Great, you've had an opportunity to do this check-in and connect in with each other in breakout rooms. Thank you for taking that opportunity. We've got a couple of other paid events coming up. Kim Billington is running a fabulous narrative therapy and storytelling strategies workshop next week. That's a small group and it's interactive learning like today was, and it's called The Hero's Journey. That's a 3-hour live interactive online training. We've also got another 3-hour training with Beate Stella, and that's on supporting grieving children. That'll be the following week. We also have a creative arts program for adult trauma survivors, and Anne Sue Lawrence is a wonderful social worker and an arts therapist, is going to be doing an interactive, wonderful creative arts process that will be interactive and quite fun too. So if you get a chance to do that, I highly recommend it. I've also got a free information evening coming up in April. Again, I do these most months, and that's providing some information about our graduate certificate in play and art therapy. We've got a July intake happening, and there's only 12 places available for that, and 5 are currently gone. So if you're interested in finding out more about it, the information's on the website. Next month, we have another of these free holding space webinars. And if you're interested in sacred storytelling, how to teach children reflective thinking, I encourage you to register online for that. That's obviously another free one as part of this. Thank you all so much for coming today, and please join me in giving Gabby a virtual big round of applause, and lots of thank you for being here today with us and sharing her expertise. Thank you so much, Gabby.
My enormous pleasure.
See you all next time. Bye now.